We've got April 2019's White Dwarf.
Spiky bits.
Fresh off our road trip to and from Adepticon 2019, we got the new White Dwarf in hand. Checking this out. Welcome back, everybody. Baer from SpikyBits.com. And it's White Dwarf time. So this one actually comes shrink wrapped with this Munchkin bookmark here, which is also part of the Munchkin Warhammer 40k OP kit that you can get. And if you get some signatures here, you can obviously cheat because that's what Munchkin's all about. But it's a pretty cool little one if you actually happen to get the signatures of Steve Jackson, Andrew, John, I think that's it, or one of them. You can rip it into little shreds and scatter them all over the cards in play, just like it's an old Chaos Orb from Magic the Gathering, which would be pretty neat. But either way, it makes a great bookmark regardless, because there isn't enough good bookmarks out there, let's be real. So this issue, you know, I wasn't wowed by it. I wasn't thrilled by it, but let's run it down. You know, there's some stuff, there is stuff in here for everybody. I'll give you that. So you're gonna have a whole bunch of different features in here on the guest editor, Tony Cottrell from Forge World. A bunch of great features in here, which I really enjoyed. There is some Masterclass stuff in here, which we saw an airbrush for, and everybody's like, oh, it's you know, GW's gonna do airbrushes. Well, not necessarily. I mean, they still might, but just the fact that Forge World's always used airbrushes for the stuff. All their Masterclass books always have airbrushes in, so no big deal there. Sigmar's got some good stuff in here. There's actually new rules for one of the militant chambers, and you got some Necromunda playing a battle report on that really cool refinery table. Not refinery, but it's like a multi-tier. I forget what they called it, but it's pretty dope. It came out about 2 years ago, right around the time Necromunda they created it there in the studio. Now, there is no specific paint feature in here except for, of course, the new Stormcast, but spattered throughout is little tips on paint schemes and different things. And I would like to point out that they did put regular size Space Marines on 32mm bases in the White Dwarf for the first time, at least in the Reader's Model section that I can remember. Now they are in here sprinkled about, but this is a first for hasn't been in a very, very long time. This is your basic tactical squad. I think it might be the super old one, as a matter of fact, on 32mm bases. And then, of course, they got the Death Watch right there and some other cool features as well. Let's see. You got forward note by Phil Kelly, but where's the good stuff? So they've got, like I said, spattered throughout of here. They got little paint schemes and different things. And then you get to the section on, here's your Tome Celestant. So here's your new Stormcast rules, which are going to be in here. Nice, neat little feature on some background. And we did an article the other day. We've got a really good writer named Travis, and he puts all sorts of effort into things, and he's been researching all the fluff and the lore on Age of Sigmar and how to, you know, kind of how it's categorized, because, you know, it's all just basically made up in the past 4 years since 2015, and he kind of broke it down really well. And so this kind of probably adds to a lot of it, maybe after the Necroquake and stuff. So if you're looking for kind of a guide on that, check that editorial out. I think it was up earlier in the week here at Spiky Bits, but it was a good feature. I was like, okay, because I read a lot of the Galmaraz stuff early on, like the quest to find Galmaraz and the Rome Gate War stuff. Wasn't wowed by it, neither was he, so that was cool to see. And then just, you know, the writing obviously gets better as time goes on, so that was a nice little guide right there. Here's your Hallowed Knight paint scheme for which militant chamber is this? I don't even know anymore. But apparently these guys might not be, is it the Steel Souls? I think these guys were the ones that supposedly aren't as goody two-shoes as everybody made them out to be, but either way. And then you've got in the back, right here, you've got your rules section, which is going to give you a War Scroll battalion and then some mini battalions right here. Well, this is the larger battalion, and then these feed into that. So I'm not as plugged in anymore with what the meta is for Stormcast. I know they nerfed them a few years ago, dropping in and doing things, but there's the rules right there. If you need them, well, you got them now. Some other good features in here, like I said. Oh, not the Echoes from the War. But where's this stuff in here? All the stuff that Tony Cottrell did. Well, we haven't got to that yet, but here's the Weathering Masterclass section. And I can't remember, I think we put in an article, but it was a Falchion. You may remember our Forge World Masterclass 2 several years ago, I think it was 2016, that they did a Falchion in a very similar pattern here. And as a matter of fact, I think it was Mark Bedford. It might have been Dave Andrews. I don't know, either way. but it's very, very well done, very poppy. I love how they cut it back with the, what did they use here? Doom Bowl. A lot of times I like to use Rhinox hide myself, but you can see right here they are using an airbrush, and this actually is a hardened steam back. I have the very same airbrush here, as a matter of fact, with the just to switched out. This actually twists off the reservoir cup so you can get a larger, I think it's 10 ml chamber. This is the Infinity 2-in-1. It's a 0.2 needle, also switches out to a 0.4 needle. And to do the back flushing, you have the little, they call it a pincher right here. You just pinch it and then you back flush it into here. Now this was a custom one. The manufacturers of the airbrush actually hooked me up and gave me this because I had done a couple reviews, spent a bunch of money on their airbrushes. These run about $250, but it is probably one of the best quality ones out there before you start really getting into some really high price stuff right there. So nothing wrong with that. It'd be very hard to actually hurt that airbrush. So I kind of wish I had begun my magical quest on learning airbrushing with that. This is a great feature. Definitely check this one out. Now, Forge World doesn't do the weathering pigments anymore, unfortunately, but there's lots of alternatives out there as well to all that, and weathering powders and such. So it's a good feature. And then they go into colors of heresy, where they show you the different colors to do your Horus Heresy legions. Now, obviously, there isn't everyone in here. I think there's, what, 6, 9, 10 of the, well, 18 actual legions right there. If you have access to the Burning of Prospero book, How to Paint Miniatures, before they really started getting into videos and such, and kind of went away from the little books, you can sometimes find them on eBay for like $8, but the How to Paint Prospero Horus Heresy paint guide book, for if you can find it for $8, is spectacular. I can't say enough good things. It's done in very much the same kind of feel and look right here, but it's also got stuff in there for Custodes and Sisters of Silence. There he is, the man of the hour. Tony has been working at Forge World, well, at GW since the 80s, which he alludes to in here. He actually pitched the whole Forge World idea to them. They pulled the license from Armorcast in the late 90s, and here we are ever since. So he's getting up there in years, but he's still, like, you know, he's still in it. He's still relevant. He's still got lots to say, and obviously his designs are, well, Forge World's looking great. Maybe not so much on the rules, but I'm very optimistic for Apocalypse coming out here in the future. So great read, great. If you remember ever seen any of the Kit Bashed G.I. Joe toys, the Kit Bashed Star Wars stuff from older White Dwarfs images going around online, chances are it was this man right here doing it all. He did a guide to scratch building a Baneblade. I think we have a feature on that from the old White Dwarf back in the 80s as well, up on Spiky Bits. It's just a really, really awesome dude, and he produces or oversees the production of some really amazing stuff that I'm sure none of us, especially himself, creating the sub company or the sister company, even dreamed about way back then. So it's really cool to see. I'd love to meet the guy. Got nothing but good things to say. It looks like fall has come to Nottingham. You can see in the background here, I love looking out this window to see what season they're recording this stuff in. So we're here in spring. That was probably fall. I'm sure we'll see some winter here soon, although I hear they might have had mostly a mild winter. I don't know. I think there was some crazy weather there for a while, but Lord of the Rings features, not going to spend a whole much time. Let's talk about a Necromunda. Now, that table I was talking about, here it is. I love this table. This is really cool. I don't know what it's called. Let's see if we can find a better shot of it. But yeah, there it is. This table is gorgeous. I remember when they rolled this out a few years ago, and I was like, man, that looks so cool with all the planks and everything. They had just gotten the new sector series of terrain, and they kind of did it as like islands. And I think we had some in-progress shots up on the site that they also put over on some of their Facebook pages and stuff. We kind of collected it into a little article. But this kind of table would be so neat to play on. Man, let me tell you what. So it's a really cool little battle report. I don't know as much about Necromunda as I would like to claim, but it looks pretty neat. Cal Jericho is coming back. We saw he would have a miniature. Can't wait for that. Love that guy. We got some stuff in here about Nightvault. Then they're actually playing Munchkin in here. Looks like Munchkin's a fun game. If you haven't picked this up and you have never heard of Munchkin, give it a whirl. You'll love it because it's 40K flavored. But obviously, if you have friends that play Munchkin, pick it up so you can maybe get them into the hobby too with all the wacky craziness. It's definitely Grimdark Light, but it's a load of fun. And then we got the Siege of Terra stuff coming out. The novel sold, the limited edition novel, for $80. Sold out. Crazy. Love it. So here's the whole, like, the reading order, because that's always been a thing. People were like, why don't you put the numbers on there? And they started doing it, And now they've got, you know, little flowcharts on like exactly what to read. And now everything, all roads lead to the kickoff of the Siege of Terra right there, which is really cool to see. So then some more in the studio stuff. And then of course we know coming up next month, the rise of the Ynnari. Supposedly going to have a big feature with their rules in, I guess it would be an Index Xenos, because technically, according to customer service, the index books are dead DOA, not getting reprinted, and those are the current rules. But then the only thing in there that you actually need to play 40k are the Ynnari faction, although they have some updates in chapter approved. But it looks like everything will be collected all into one. Maybe they'll be getting some stratagems, etc., etc. We don't exactly know yet, but I'm sure all of the Eldar players out there are chomping at the bit, because definitely Eldar demons, not so much Castellans anymore, but are at the top of the meta. So that is it for this one. Thank you for listening to me drone on very much. Again, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos.